Good evening. My name is Tim Staub. I'm with Herbert Roland Grubik. We're along with me tonight is Caitlin Mills, and we're the consultant that was selected to assist the community in the facilitation and update of the 2011 comprehensive plan. Just go to the next slide. So tonight's agenda is essentially going through what a comprehensive plan is. We're gonna inventory what has been accomplished to date in regards to some engagement. Let you know what we've discovered about your community thus far. Discuss the approach of moving forward and the common themes that we're hearing coming out of the engagement process, and then finalize with some next steps. In the mix of that, we'll have some opportunities for you to respond to some questions through a polling process. So as indicated, the previous comprehensive plan was approved in 2011. And generally speaking, a comprehensive plan is a policy document for your community that details a long range vision and puts in place goals and action steps to achieve those, the vision and goals. Part of the process is to look and anticipate future trends and issues, and you'll see that highlighted in our presentation tonight of what we're trying to project will be impacts to the community and how best to navigate through those impacts on land use, housing, transportation, and other topic areas. The information in the comprehensive plan then helps us inform the community and future housing policies, community investments, ordinance updates, and just general direction for the Borough Council. So to date, we've had the opportunity to do key person interviews with the borough, specifically focusing on the borough's department heads to identify what was accomplished out of the previous comprehensive plan, why it wasn't accomplished, is it still valid, and items that have come up since the previous comprehensive plan that should be adjusted. We also have a steering committee that has met 8 times over the process of since last November, where we discussed the various topics and themes and really identified items that we should consider and possible solutions that you'll see highlighted tonight. Over the last 3 weeks, we've had online surveys that the community had the opportunity to complete, essentially 2 surveys going through various topics such as transportation, land use, economic development, housing, and so on. The other part of the community engagement toolbox is the plethora of planning projects that have been conducted over the last 10 years in your community and in the region. As part of this project, those projects rather, there was a lot of community engagement associated with them, and it helps set the direction. So we're not starting at the goal line. We're starting at the 20 or even the 40-yard line and moving down the field, if you follow the football analogy. So what we've discovered in this process is a few quick facts that we want to share with you. So the 2010 population for the borough was 16,440 people. In 2019, the borough population grew to 16,900. There's been a lot of development that has occurred over the last few years, and the demographics have not caught up to that as far as calculating that information. But we know, we've seen the developments occurring, and we know that the population is growing. Borough is about 3.5 square miles, and the average age is 34.7 years. And I would say, based on what we're seeing, it is also getting younger. So that is important in regards to future planning for the borough to consider. The per capita income is right around 35.5. Per household is 75. And again, those those income levels we anticipate will also be going up. It is noted that about 10% of the population lives below the poverty line, and again, that's something we'll discuss later on in the presentation and how to address and assist those members of your community. Prior to COVID, about 75% of residents drove alone to work, and it took about 28 and a half minutes for them to get to their destination for work. And it's interesting to note, since 2010, over half of your population has moved into the community. So you kind of have a mix of old and new, and we're seeing some of that playing out in some of the engagement responses. Some people like the way it's been, some people like the way it's going, and so trying to strike a happy medium is sometimes difficult. So our approach to the comprehensive plan is, and what we've discovered so far, is that the community is really well positioned for the future. But the question is, are they going to be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities? There's some areas of the community that there's been a lot of planning and subsequent implementation that really just needs to have some fine tuning and some objectives added to continuing to carry those torches forward. While other areas of the community have fallen behind and need to be bolstered a little bit and enhanced to support the growing population. So with that said, next slide. The areas that are well positioned are your neighborhood structure, your financial strategy moving forward, sustainability initiatives, wastewater, recreation, and emergency services. And the items that are in bold are the topic areas that we're going to talk a little bit further on tonight, because we need to get some direction on several of those. Areas that need to be considered a little bit deeper to be bolstered and enhanced are stormwater, how you're going to address stormwater and current regulations being pushed through regulating the stormwater utilities. Connectivity, how are you getting around your community? Housing, economic development, your water infrastructure, and how does the borough communicate with its residents? And as you see, connectivity and housing are topics that we're going to focus on here for the remainder of the presentation. But first, I'd like to talk about the neighborhood structure. So in 2011, the previous comprehensive plan did an excellent job in identifying your neighborhoods, specifically the unique characteristics of them. You know, how far back the houses sit from the street, the spacing in between them. Does the street have all just residential uses, or is there a mixture in there? And that information was collected, and then it helped inform your zoning ordinance to allow for those standards to continue to play forward, so something didn't look out of place if it was built along your street. Landscapes 3, which is Chester County's comprehensive plan, defined Phoenixville Borough as an urban center with historical downtown and noted those established neighborhood structures. So building off of that, we wanted to utilize the information there and identify areas that could improve your community based on that neighborhood structure. Next slide. So I know this map is difficult to see. However, this just generally shows the 15 neighborhoods that were identified in the previous 2011 plan. And working with the steering committee, they generally felt those neighborhood structures were appropriate. There is discussion of maybe adjusting one or two of those lines or expanding them out, but for the most part, those are the boundaries that we're considering moving them forward. So it's your opportunity for your first poll. how do we build off of that neighborhood character? What should be the top priorities? So if you could fill out what you think the top priorities are associated with this poll, and we'll see where everybody feels we should move. So if you could click on those responses of what you think is the most appropriate, choose up to 3, that would be helpful. Give another 30 seconds here or so. About half of you have responded. About 5 seconds left. Okay. So looks like improving the sidewalks and trail network, making it easier and safer pedestrian crossings and connections, and music and performance venue is high on the list. And it looks like there are several others that are in consideration for other improvements, such as a grocery store or market. Okay. Next slide, please. So one of the suggestions that we provided to the steering committee was the notion of marketing and the community as a community that you could live and be able to walk to all of your amenities and or within a short distance walk, a 15-minute walk shed or possibly a 20. But when we did the analysis, you could, as you can see in the map, the pastel blue covers pretty much the entire borough. So from one portion of the borough to the other is within a 15-minute walk. What we've heard is that there are some safety issues and concerns, but it's possible to get from one section to the other to do some of your daily trips and not have to get in the car, which will become important as we talked about through the remainder of this presentation. So building off of that, if you were able to walk to the downtown, which all of you are, what do you think what 3 items do you think will elevate the downtown above where it currently sits as a regenerated downtown of restaurants and recreational amenities and so on? So if we can start our second poll here and give you guys a few minutes to start that and take that poll.
Tim, they answered that question when the first group came up.
Oh, all right.
It's because they were paired together in neighborhoods.
Gotcha. Thank you. So that's where I made a mistake there. My apologies. So again, Safer Connections, music performance venue, associated with making the downtown better. For the neighborhoods, then it's improving sidewalks, improving access into essential needs, park improvements, and community gardens were the top votes there. Interesting. Okay. Thank you. So then, as part of that 15-minute commute or walking shed into your community, some items to think about. So there's 54 miles of roadway in the borough. Some of it's within the borough's control, some of it's owned by the state. So there's additional regulations and permits that are required to improve some of the roadways to standards that the residents want. There is also 2 bus routes that go through the community, and there's 80 miles of sidewalk. And as noted earlier, there's 2,230 dwelling units approved to be built in the community over the next 10 years. Adding that to your existing, adding that based on your current share of how many people own cars in your community average, that's going to place an additional over 3,000 vehicles into your community. So that's significant. And while we know that's a lot of vehicles that are going to be placed on your roadway infrastructure, we also know that things have changed a little bit with the pandemic, and while some offices are allowing their employees to come back in full time, some are working a hybrid. You no doubt have noticed an adjustment to your roadways and the traffic on them. And so there may not be over 3,000 cars coming and going in your community over the next 10 years, but nonetheless, there is still, the amount of vehicles is more than likely going to stress your community. And so that's one of the things that the steering committee looked at, is how can we, allow the population to continue to grow and be satisfied and be able to live in their community, and ask questions on how and what better ways can we work and play in the community and get to those destinations. So we'll go to our next poll. And we have 3 questions associated with that. So the first question is, how should your current and future residents travel through the borough? Please select your top 2. And then from our community survey that we had online, most of the respondents indicated that their prominent reason for walking in the borough is for leisure. And so we want to know what would encourage you to walk more for other purposes. And then finally, how are we going to retain the identity of our diverse neighborhoods and manage that traffic congestion and provide convenient mobility options as the borough grows? And these are some ideas that have been discussed at the steering committee, and want to understand if any of those make sense to you. So if you would take the time to respond to the poll, we'll see how the results go.
Apparently question 1 is only allowing them to make one choice.
Uh-oh, my apologies. So as we finish out the poll, since I asked for 2 responses on question 1, if you wanted to let us know via chat or in the Q&A what your other choice would be, we'll incorporate those in the results here. Or if you want to make a comment on connectivity in your community. I'll take a moment here. Walking and biking. Thank you, Mark. Another 30 seconds or so, see if we can get the last few to enter their answers there.
I'm going to go ahead and end polling. We're still getting some responses through the Q&A.
Okay. All right, so let's go through the results here, and then we'll see if we have any others that want to add anything in the Q&A, as well as if they want to add anything through our chat feature, raising your hand. We'll elevate you to discuss it. As right now, the current future residents travel through the borough. Question number 1 under connectivity. Top selection is walking with a shuttle service coming in second. As far as what would encourage you to walk for other purposes, top choice was convenience, access, and then safety. And then finally, how can the borough retain the identity of its neighborhoods and provide convenient mobility options as it grows? And it looks like incorporate a local shuttle service within the borough, prioritize collector walking and biking routes to the downtown, improve safety of the sidewalks are the top votes there. And let's see here, go over to the Q&A. Commuter train. Sorry, didn't add that as an option, but has been an item that was discussed. Ride sharing, okay. Noise from vehicles make it difficult. Okay. Any participants want to add a little bit further onto the connectivity conversation here for a minute or two? Okay. We will continue on. Caleb, you can adjust down? Yep. Thank you. So the next areas that we want to enhance would be the parks. And right now, the borough has 15 parks. Associated with that park is 72 acres of land. They're around 4 miles of trails. And also have an active recreational programs within the community, as well as special events that are programmed with the assistance of the borough staff. And I know that recreational programming was challenged significantly over the last year to offer no contact or virtual recreational options. So as communities start to open up a little bit more, more opportunities are being built back into the face-to-face programming. Okay, so based on the amount of information that we received so far, it's been kind of split as the feelings of whether or not the current public spaces will provide a sufficient amount of recreation for the anticipated population. So I thought it would be appropriate for me to ask that question in regards to parks. And then the follow-up question in regards to parks is most of the response, and I'm not sure if this is related to the fact that over the last year, we did not have as much active sporting events and program sporting events, but there's a definite need for more passive public spaces. And so the follow-up question is what type of passive spaces were you looking for? And some of the ideas are suggestions from other communities, as well as suggestions that came out of the survey responses. So if we could open up the parks portion of the survey questions, allow them to complete that, that would be great.
While they're answering these questions, Tim, we do have a couple questions in the Q&A.
Thank you.
One was regarding the teal trail on the previous map, if that's a proposed trail or an existing.
I'm sorry?
One question that I asked, that I replied that I would ask you to answer was about the teal trail on the map.
Okay. And whether it was proposed or existing.
Exactly, thank you.
That was proposed as far as I know. And there's a couple other questions here. Or comments, sorry, I wasn't sure. All the dwelling units were approved with a plan for traffic and for parking. So, and the other question was, or comment, is a huge quality of life, very concerned about losing too much. And connecting to Acme and Phoenixville Plaza with trails is still out process of shopping. Okay. I'll note that. Sorry, I'm jumping into the Q&A. I'm going to add the polling back up. That would be helpful for the participants. So it looks like give another 15 seconds here to people to respond to these two questions. And it seems as if we got most of the responses back, and majority of you, feel that the public spaces are not sufficient, and the type of passive space that's needed is small neighborhood parks focused on impromptu gatherings instead of active fields, and like to see some parks with sitting areas that have native plant areas instead of grass fields. Okay. So the last topic area I wanted to cover this evening was housing. And again, these are based on 2019 figures, but I know that the housing prices values are increasing not only in Phoenixville, but in all parts of the country. The market is very good at this point in time with interest rates low. And so the average housing cost in 2019 was $230K. The average rental cost was just over $1,500 a month. And there's 7,461 housing units at the time of the census survey in 2019. One thing of note, and one of the things that we wanted to talk about in regards to housing is affordability, with the rental price in particular going up 42% since 2010. And combining that with the 10% and probably growing people living at below the poverty level, it makes housing attainment very difficult in Phoenixville Borough. So with that, I ask my final question is, in what direction is Phoenixville Borough headed in providing quality housing to a broad spectrum of residents? Is it poor? Is it unsatisfactory? Is it satisfactory? Are you guys above average? Or do you feel that it's excellent? Wait about another 15 seconds here yet. Okay. And the poll, yep, thank you. So the results are that it's unsatisfactory. About 40% of the respondents indicated that. Thank you. So before we conclude the presentation, I want to give an opportunity to discuss any of those topics. If there's any suggestions you may have on how to improve the neighborhood structure, any other suggestions for connectivity within the community, suggestions for park improvements that may not have been listed, or any ways of addressing the housing quality. I think Mark has raised his hand. Let's see.
Hi, Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mark.
Great job. It looks like we got some really interesting questions to answer.
Thank you.
I've been involved in the Phoenixville Greenway for 31 years, if you can believe that. And we have some unfinished business that I hope rises to the top with regard to the priorities. The trail connection to the river will really unlock a lot of recreational opportunities for people. And I know that Gene and the county have been working on that, but I really think we need to push very hard on that. The other thing that's evident, given the statistics that you referenced relative to the upcoming development, is to push very hard on the Reservoir Park connections and to connect the Reservoir Park across French Creek to the Phoenixville Plaza Shopping Center. I think if the study were to review that, it's pretty clear that we need destinations, and Reservoir Park is kind of undeveloped in that regard. And as the north side fills up along Township Line Road, we're going to have a different neighborhood there that's going to be kind of stranded and car centric unless we get very active in connecting it to the Schuylkill River Trail. But the reality is that's very low in the elevation, and we need to kind of somehow come across the top to Reservoir Park. So yeah, that's what I wanted to focus my comments on.
Thank you, Mark. Good points. Dave Meadows. It's like we're elevating you, Dave, if you want to unmute, or we can unmute
Right.
him.
Two items. One, the extreme density that we're seeing in Phoenixville right now, it's basically overwhelming. I mean, everybody's trying to maximize the footprint, what they can put on a plot. And I know there's local traffic studies done in and around these developments, but the cumulative effect of them when you go out of the immediate neighborhood to the connector or arterial streets or to the street highways is overwhelming. It's almost impossible. You're getting to the point where you have to plan your travel around to avoid peak travel time. So that's one big issue. And I know from the Planning Commission meeting 2 weeks ago, two people who had already had preliminary plans approved have come back in for denser plans. So it's out there. People are trying to make the most money off their things. And this comprehensive plan needs to figure out a way to put the skids on this because it's overwhelming. And then the second thing is, and I almost feel like we've missed a lot here, is the Greenway and the natural resources. And French Creek went right through the center of Phoenixville, but we've allowed developments to build right up against it and pretty much block it. Yeah, we have a trail along there, but in some places. But I think if there's any area where we can preserve what's left of that, that should really be a focus. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Looks like Paul wants to add a comment.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Paul, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hey, I don't want to sound like I'm tagging on Mark Conley, but I'm another one of these people that's been involved with the Greenway for 30 some years. And that's a long time to get a project finished. And something like this needs to focus on some priorities with connecting our downtown business area with the Schuylkill River. This borough, by its nature and the geography of the river, has something like 4.5 miles of riverfront with basically no access. The only public access, and that's basically controlled by the Fish and Boat Commission by permit, is up at Black Rock, up at 113 where the bridge is. And we've had this plan on the table to connect the French Creek Trail to the river and where basically French Creek enters, and have a riverfront type park there with a trail going up to connect to Black Rock Dam. And with the new explosion in outdoor interest and kayaking and stuff, this would be another gem. Now the county owns that land. We pushed that. They have a somewhat of a plan in place, but it's, again, it's, there's a lot of demand on their money. So projects tend to get ranked on importance. And I think we need to push our projects to a higher status to get some attention and funding there. But I just wanted to make sure this doesn't get lost in the overall plan. Thank you.
Noted, Paul. Thank you for your comments. Amanda, next.
Hey,
Hey.
Bob, thanks so much for all your hard work. This was really informative. And I just have to echo some previous comments about my concerns of the intense development that's happening in Phoenixville. Just extreme high density, like, of course, like, we're gonna grow and we wanna like invite people into the community, but just this like like just overwhelming, like high density, pack as many human beings in as possible is just something that I know a lot of people that I've spoken to in the community are concerned about, and just something that I'm really worried about. Also preserving green spaces. I was surprised to see like sustainability on like the list of things that we do well, just because they just ripped out like 1 million trees to build like 5,000 houses or whatever it is. So I just wanted to kind of raise that up as a concern for me as well, and like what we're doing to, I don't know, be more sustainable and just chill with like the intense high density. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda. Susan?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. Tim, I don't know how to quite answer. I have two questions. One is, how does the Phoenixville Borough Comprehensive Plan does it become realized? Is it just a suggestion to Borough Council? How is it used?
So it's a policy document. It's not a law, but it makes recommendations on how the community should move forward based on the various topics that we've talked about tonight and other areas.
Okay.
And so usually it's based on public engagement, like this and other engagement tools that we've had to help inform that we're steering the community in the correct direction.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
And it, as I indicated earlier in the presentation, like this isn't the first plan that they've done. And so there's a lot of other smaller plans like parking plans and wayfinding plans and so forth that help inform the decision makers to whether we're making the right choices of moving forward in certain areas. So
Okay.
hopefully that helps you.
Yes, and then my quick second question kind of goes back, piggybacks off of, I think, what Amanda was inferring, is do you ever see the possibility of recommending stopping development at some point?
So state law requires that you have to provide for every use in zoning. So you have to allow for every use, and you have to allow for every use the ability to expand. So that's what the law states. However, there's also market demands and other things that come to play in that your community is not very large. And so
Exactly.
you don't have many more parcels that will see the density of development that you are experiencing now, unless whole blocks are raised. And right now in your regulations, that's not allowed. So, so you are protected in that regards. Now you still have some other buildings in your community that could incorporate and switch from commercial or non-residential to residential and have more, apartments in there, but it's not going to be at the scale that you're seeing right now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. A couple more minutes Um,
And there are some comments in the Q&A for those individuals who didn't raise their hands. So I don't know if you want to address them, and then we'll get to Mr. Lutzker.
okay. Lighting is the main issue for sidewalks. Okay, that's good to know. Let's see, will all new trails accommodate both walkers and bikers, specific allocating space for both to use simultaneously. That's a space dependent response. I can't answer that now because not all areas will have the ability to have enough room to have both bicycle and walking, but for the areas that do, that is what should be recommended. Let's see here. I agree with the feeling overwhelmed on traffic. Pedestrian safety needs to be considered to be truly walkable. Okay. Yes, you may email me. I will share you my email address then at the end here. Are there plans for more engagement? Appreciate the fact that you think this has been a great opportunity and of engagement, and we'll get to the more engagement piece here shortly. And right through the downtown area, this is an amazing fact. Okay, heard loud and clear on the French Creek, Greenway, and Natural Body tonight. It's something that we need to talk through. Suggest we could get a downtown donut bagel shop. Be there every morning. Okay. All right. Any news on public train into Phoenixville? As of this point, I have heard that that's a possibility, but it's still years away from what I understand. So Caitlin, can you, I'm sorry, we had another person that wanted to share. David, yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, the prospect of so many more cars, so many more people is a little scary, and well, we need to allow for what you said. There's a law. We need to allow for continued growth, but maybe not at the rate that you're projecting. And I don't know how to accomplish putting brakes on what seems like runaway development and these kind of runaway situations with cars and I don't know what the solution is, but I did mention shuttle buses, and if we can keep some of the cars in outlying areas and provide good transportation to the center where we need to make it beautiful, and sustainability is part of that, and the open space, and make it a place where people want to come, and that it works so that they park somewhere not in downtown and can get a shuttle bus to come into town and enjoy and make it an attractive place to live and visit. And I think we need to put some brakes on the amount of development that's going on in order to achieve that.
I guess one of the good things that came out of the last year and a half is that the communities got to test ideas they may have had but may have been afraid to do, or not to the level that they had of closing down streets for only pedestrian access. And those are ideas that the committee wants to continue discussing. And as you see by some of the questions of how to connect people, and having a shuttle service has also been discussed. So I think that the committee realizes that, well, they see the data that's been shared, and they knew it already. So they're coming with solutions, and we're helping them with some other solutions. There's no silver bullet in this, but there are many different tools in the toolbox that we can help and assist the the community to adjust to the borough's new norm. So I believe that's all the people that had comments. I wanted to wrap up here to be responsible of the time here. So based on this meeting and the other engagement inputs, we're going to reconvene with the committee in July to go over the results and the thoughts and see, where there may be some tangents to what we originally thought, and if there's areas that we need to talk at a deeper level on. And then we'll write a draft portion of the plan, and as required by the state, and it has to be out for public review. So we'll have engagement methods for the community to review the entire draft plan document. And we're hoping to complete the project in November, December timeframe, depending on how the engagement goes and if we have to have some adjustments to the documents. I want to point out, we do have a page on the borough's website dedicated to the comprehensive plan. My email and contact information is there. Feel free to share your thoughts. You may not have had time tonight or not comfortable in doing so, or we may not have talked on a topic that you were interested in. And I'll make sure I share that with the committee and the borough as we move forward. And the process is open, so it doesn't have to be within the next week. You can see that we're going to be working on this over the next few months. So as ideas come to you, please feel free to contact me through the process. Let me do one more quick check of the Q&A. Let's see here.
And don't forget your email address, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Before I go there, before I go to the Q&A, my email is T as in Tim, Staub, STAUB, at hrg-inc.com. And again, that's on the borough website under the comprehensive plan page if you didn't get that down, but I'll say it one more time. T as in Tim, Staub, STAUB, at hrg-inc.com. So to the Q&A, traffic on Main Street will problematic if people start to work again and the new townhouses. What are the plans to handle this? So as indicated previously, to answer the question, any plan that has gone through the planning commission and the council has been officially approved. So there was a study associated with whether or not the community streets could handle the traffic load. Who's the steering committee? It should be listed again on the website. And we do have recordings of our meetings, as well as minutes or minutes. And they are on the website. Will sustainability be mentioned or reviewable before the draft? We've talked about sustainability, and that's in one of the meetings with the steering committee. So you can review that. If you have further follow-up, feel free to email me or call me. My phone number is on the website as well. 6 o'clock, I want to honor everybody's time. I appreciate the input. It was very valuable for us as the consultant to continue filtering through and understanding how to pivot on some of these topics and how to go back to the committee and get their feedback on them. So with that, I will close the meeting and look forward to having another public engagement with you in the fall. Thank you.